Oh, hey, Professor Landnut here. Hope you're all doing well. So it's October here in New England, and you know what that means. Time for raking. It's not a bad chore. I kind of enjoy it for the most part. But this is also a power tools video, so you know what that means. So let's look at another awesome Carlson power tool. Okay, so for this edition of Power Tools, I'd like to introduce you to two very interesting tools that I think will be useful. I'm going to blast through them. I've got about 8 minutes to keep this under 10, so here we go. The first one is Carlson point cloud software. What I wanted to show you here, and I'm going to fire up the point cloud software. I'm going to go ahead and create a new point cloud project. We'll call this Take 2. We should call it Take 5 since it's the in honor of Brubeck, and since this is the 5th power tool. So we'll call it Take 5. And I'm going to right click and import a cloud. And the one I'm going to use is this one. And what I want you to see when I do that, this is a Lidar data set. And it's going to analyze it, and it's going to give me the projection and ask if I want to change anything here. I'm going to take the defaults. But this is the thing I wanted to show you. This Lidar is classified. It has classifications. This is huge. So I say, yes, take them all and add them as what Carlson Point Cloud calls regions. They came up with a different name for classifications. I'm not exactly sure why, but they're called regions in Carlson Point Cloud. So it brings in the cloud, creates a point cloud in Carlson. But what's most critical here is that it has taken the classifications and made them into regions. So as soon as it's done with this cloud, converting classifications to regions, and then if I right click and show you the properties, this is about 18 million points. If I double click and create a scene, doesn't really matter which one we use, simple, direct is fine. And because it's LiDAR, there's no color here. So I'll tell you what, I'll do it this way. I'll double click and use position elevation. LiDAR doesn't have colors like drone photo stuff does. But this is by elevation. But again, what you'll see here, the main thing is you'll see tons of trees. But if I go to the scene and I scroll down to this secret squirrel spot, here are the regions that were created. It says hide or select. So if I say hide, as I go down the list of low vegetation, high vegetation, etc., you'll see the view changing, and what's left automatically is bare earth. Basically, all that's left is the ground classified points, automatically done. That's incredible. Now, we do have, of course, bare earth functionality that we can process with, but in this case, we don't have to. So we come in here. Now I'm just going to basically say, okay, select the ground. And again, I could take part of this if I wanted to or whatever. And then I just come over here to actions and I say create a tin. Okay. And this is basically a way to very quickly use LiDAR data, if it's classified, to do some special things. Most importantly, in this case, is to create essentially a bare earth ground tin from a Lidar that has lots of other data. Okay, so now back in the drawing, we've got that surface, and I've contoured it over here. And then I've drawn just this shape where I want to do some grading. I want to grade out this area. So what we're going to use in Carlson Civil and Survey, although they're a little different, I'll show you, but in Civil right now, is Design Pad Template. And we're going to tell it, we're going to target a surface file. If it's closed, which it is, it's to the outside. We're going to go at a ratio, different colors for cut and fill. There's quite a few prompts here, settings to work with. And we're going to take most of the defaults, and notice all the geometry is going to go to the pad layer. We're going to pick the pad polyline, which is the area that it's going to project from. And we're going to project to our Take 5 tin, which is that existing surface that we did. We say if it's a fill, go 3:1. If it's a cut, go 4:1. And what it does is, because this was drawn at 0, it looks and says, I'm sampling the surface, I'm getting between 81.27 and 91.78 elevations going around. What elevation do you want to start at? So I'm going to split the difference and go with 86. It sets it at 86. It projects a cut slope where it's a cut and a fill slope where it's a fill, of course, and gives me a volume. Okay, and that's the first pass. But now it says, do you want to change anything? Do you want to adjust? I'm going to say no, and I'm not going to create a new surface or update the target surface. I'm going to say no, don't do anything. Contour it, I'm going to say no. Now, in Carlson's survey, that's as far as you can go. You can say, I do want to change it and try and change things. But in Carlson's Civil, you have another tool, which is the editor. So if I double click, I just double click on this object, this pad template. It shows me the cut and fill slopes and the elevation. I can do all sorts of things from here. I can move it, just pick it up and move it and tell it to reprocess. And I'll get new information. Now I have these cut and fill volumes. Obviously the cut is very heavy. Okay, so let's raise it up. We'll go from 86, let's go to 90 and see what happens. It reprocesses, and now we're very heavy on the fill. So let's say we go to 88, split the difference there, and we'll see that we're coming in much closer. Okay, we can change elevations of vertices, we can move vertices, we can move the whole thing, we can rotate the whole thing into a new position. You can do any sort of editing that you need to do. And one of the options here, which is interesting, is to balance it. So I say balance it within 10 cubic meters, and it basically adjusts up and down until it balances the volumes, which it's done at 87.39, and I've got that. So this is an introduction to a very powerful grading tool called a pad template and the editor in Civil, and this really can really help you build surfaces very quickly, edit them very easily, and then of course in the end you can write a tin, and you can say, okay, I want to export this as site 1 as a new tin, and then we can exit from here, and we have a new tin. We can take a look at it, view, 3D view, surface file, and we'll look at site 1. This is the surface that we just constructed with that tool, and you can see the cut and fill areas and so on and so forth. I'll say color by elevation none, and you can just see a little bit better there. So I wanted to introduce you to two things very quickly. There's a lot more, and maybe I'll revisit the pad template and show you some more of the options next time. But I wanted to introduce you to that power tool, and I also wanted to introduce you to the idea of using classifications in Lidar to build ground surfaces in point cloud. I hope those were helpful, and we'll see you next time.